Question number 6. Explain why these tiles tessellate. Tessellating means that these tiles fit together with no gaps whatsoever. To prove that this is the case, we need to show that on the straight line there are 180 degrees, or potentially around a point they add up to 360. If I take any triangle, as they are isosceles, I know that those two angles there represent the same value, and then we can call the other angle B, for example. So I know that in a triangle, 180 degrees is equal to 2A plus B in this context. If I was to take this straight line and work out the same, I'm aware again that a straight line is 280 degrees. I have an angle A there, an angle A there, and an angle B. So I find that again 180 degrees is 2A plus B, and therefore they are tessellating because of those two facts adding up to 180. So show that AB is parallel to FCB. To prove these lines are parallel, I need to show that either by looking at a C angle here, that angle there plus that angle add up to 180, or I could use a Z angle or an F angle in any context. So I'm going to find angle BAF, and I'm also going to find angle AFC, and I need to show that those two angles add up to 180. The question tells me that the smallest angle in each triangle is with 26, so that tells me that the angle up here is 26 degrees. Now I can take that away from 180 and half it to find that those two angles down there are both 77 degrees. So I know that AFC is 77 degrees. Looking at the next triangle and applying the same logic, I have a 26 degrees down here, and both of those are worth 77 degrees each. That tells me that the entire angle BAF is 77 plus 26, which is 103. I then can say that 103 plus 77 equals 180 degrees, which is what I would expect in a C angle, and that proves that those lines are parallel. So we have a formula 220 times 1.03 to the power of x. If we compare this with the formula new amount equals original amount times by a multiplier raised to a power of years, we can see straight away that 220 represents the original amount. The multiplier in this case is 1.03. That is because we have a 3% increase on top of the 100% they already had, which gives us a 1.03 multiplier. So 3% of 220 is equal to 6.6, and then I need to add that on to 220 to find how much is in there after 1 year, which is £226.60. Question number 8. There are two things we need to consider here. We need to look at how many boxes of tiles would be required, which cover 1.2 square meters each, and then if we have 4 meters of vinyl, a width of 4 meters of vinyl at £66.50 per meter, how much would we need? If we look at the vinyl, as the vinyl is 4 meters wide, we would need to roll it out that way, and we will need 3 meters of vinyl. So for the vinyl, we are going to need 3 lots of £66.50, and that works at the cost of the vinyl. That comes to £199.50 for the vinyl. In order to find the area of this rectangle, we are going to need to look at the fact that we have 1 meter by here, and then we can split this up into 2 rectangles. This one will have an area of 1.6 meters squared, and then this one will have an area of 9 meters squared. So the total area is 10.6 meters squared, and the tiles cover 1.2 meters squared. You need to find out how many 1.2s go into 10.6, so we do 10.6 divided by 1.2. Again, I would use the bus shelter method, and I would calculate 106 divided by 12 instead, because it's easier than decimals. This comes to 8.8. Since it says tiles can only be bought in whole boxes, we will need to buy 9 boxes of tiles at a cost of £19.50 each. And that comes to a total of £175.50 for the tiles. The question says, are they able to choose either the tiles or vinyls for £200 and show all your workings? And it also asks find the difference in cost. So to find the difference, we are going to do 199.50 take away 175.50, which is £24. So the difference is £24, and the answer is yes, they can choose both because they have £200 and neither of these values exceed that. Question number 9, more angle rules questions. In a rhombus, we know that these two sides are parallel, and so are these. As these two sides are parallel, we have a C angle here, which obviously looks more like the letter N, but that tells us that x plus 60 equals 180, so x must be 120. Again, we have parallel lines here, and we can see there is a Z angle between the Y and the 74, so Y is 74 degrees. So a length of wire is cut into 3 pieces, so we need to find 5/8 of 240, we need to find 1/4 of 240, and we need to find 1/8 of 240. We need to divide by the number on the bottom and times by the number at the top, so we get 240 divided by 8, which is 30, times 5 is 150. Divide by the number on the bottom, 60, times by 1 obviously. 240 divided by 8 is 30, and to make sure we are correct, if we add these three numbers together, we should get the 240 we started with. So sharing in a ratio, so we have 308 is worth 11 parts by saying 5 plus 4 plus 2, which is 11. To find out what one part is worth, we do 308 divided by 11, and again we're going to need the bus shelter method to do this, which comes to 28. So one part is worth 28, and then we can do 2 times 28, which is 56, 4 times 28, which is 112, and 5 times 28, which is 140. Again, we can check we're correct because these three figures here will add up to 308. Question number 11. Ben and Catherine buy new fleeces. The label inside Ben's says the following and Catherine's the other. Ben's weighs 270 and Catherine's is made with 10% less fleece fabric than Ben's jacket. The 10% less fleece fabric statement tells us that we need to work with the values for the polyester, and the elastane are not relevant in these questions. So the first thing we need to do is find 90% of 270 grams. That will tell us how much of Ben's fleece comes from the polyester which we are looking at. Now, there are 243 grams of his fleece, and they are measured, the density is 180 grams per meter squared. If we do 243 divided by 180, we find out how much material Ben's jacket is made out of, and that comes to 1.35 meters squared. Now, the one that Catherine is wearing has a different density, so if we take the amount of material that Ben's is made out of and times it by the density that Catherine's is made out of, we find that she has 189 grams in her jacket.